Hey viewers, my name's Kara. I'm your host for Tuesdays here on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're talking about older pagans who are just getting started on their path. This week's topic comes from Mark Parker, who wrote us a little bit about himself or themselves and their line of work and everything like that. And there are a lot of things that we can pull from this as topics. So throughout the week we might hear people talking about some different things. But the things that I really pulled out of it as the main ideas were the idea that someone can be really new to their path but have this strong connection to the earth or whatever they feel is the center of their path through their whole life, through their occupation. Mark happens to be a landscaper and so feels very connected to the earth through that. And just kind of knowing all these things, but knowing still that they are very new and don't know a lot yet and wondering, can I call myself a pagan? Because ever since they found this out, they feel really connected, they feel really great, really this feels like home to them. And so my basic answer, can you call yourself pagan, is yeah, sure. If you feel comfortable calling yourself that, and especially because pagan is such a general term, some people feel really specific about it. My definition of it is anything that's non-Abrahamic. So a lot of things fall under the umbrella of paganism. Even things that don't necessarily call themselves paganism fit under that general definition. So I think if you're calling yourself a general pagan and you're open about the fact that you are new to it and everything like that, I think yes, you can start to identify with it if it helps you feel better identifying with that sort of thing. Now, if you want to identify as anything specific that really requires more specific knowledge or paths or groups that require initiation or that you go through some kind of training, things like that, obviously don't call yourself that before you have really earned that right to. But if you just want to identify as a general pagan, I think that's something that today has become more acceptable to a lot of people. I know some people still don't like it, but generic paganism didn't used to be a thing with a definition because everything was so different. And now I really feel that it is something more that you can identify with when you're just starting out, maybe before you realize if anything else more specific is a good fit for you. So that's the first thing I pulled out of it is, I'm really new to this, I love it, it feels right to me, but I am really new, can I call myself a pagan? Yeah, I think just be honest about the fact that you're new to it and never try to claim things that you know you do not have the knowledge base, I suppose, of claiming yet. Just be honest, be nice, The other thing I'd pick out is really the main topic, I think, of what Mark was asking, which is for us to talk about older pagans starting out. So Mark is 52 and just kind of finding all this information, finding this path. So I just wanted to talk about people who find these paths later on in life. Just give them a little bit of presence here in this week's videos. So absolutely, I think one of the things Mark said was, I don't feel that it's too late for me to start on this path, and I plan to stick with this until, my time on this plane is done. And I absolutely agree. I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's ever too late to find what you really believe and what you really connect with. Even if, for example, I want to say some people probably go through years and years of their lives never really being sure or never really wanting to commit to a certain thing. I know some people, for example, who don't want to settle on a certain thing because they like to be a seeker. But we change over time, and so there might be people who have been looking and just never came across the right thing, or it was never presented to them the right way until later on. Or it might be that you were very comfortable with another religious belief system earlier in your life, but now that you're older, your beliefs have changed to a place where paganism maybe fits you better. So I don't think it's ever too late to decide whatever it is for you. And I think that if we're not always growing and changing in little ways at least, if not large ways, then what are we really doing? We're not really growing and progressing. So no, I don't think it's too late. I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing and wonderful. And the only thing that I think really needs to be specifically remembered when we think about things like this is that throughout society And even within paganism, we talk about things like elders. We call people elders, and that really, in our terminology, connotes an amount of knowledge or wisdom, knowledge that has been acquired and wisdom that can be applied. So when we talk about elders, which we've done on Pagan Perspective before, we've talked about elders, and I think I mentioned this, that in some definitions it just means people who have progressed to such a degree that they would be able to teach people, and that they would be able to continue the tradition or continue the practices by teaching other people and passing it on. We think of elders in our society as older people, right? We think of the elderly. That's where these words connect from. I haven't looked up the etymology, but that's where they're all connected together in this way. So we think of older people as being the people who already know a lot and know the most and know more than someone like me because I'm young, etc. We forget that sometimes older people can be new to things. There can be older people who are just starting to learn about things. And there can also be younger people who have been raised in their practice and or who found it very young and really dove into it, who know a lot already even though they're very young. So, for example, in The Spiral Dance, which is written by Starhawk, she talks about how when they were developing the reclaiming collective and really starting reclaiming as a tradition, their elders were in their 20s because they were the oldest people of that tradition because they were creating it and they were the people really passing it on to other people. So it's kind of skewed because, you could have a 65-year-old person walk in and want to learn from a 23-year-old, and the 23-year-old is considered an elder or an expert in that tradition. Not an expert necessarily, that's not the way we all see it, but that word connotes something in our societal understanding in the English language, so that's why I chose that. So this person knows a lot, right, even though they're young, and you can have an older person coming in as a novice and learning from them. So we kind of flip the script a little bit. So that's the only thing that really pops out at me as wanting to be said about when older people are new to the practice. Because on the one hand, yes, they do have, for example, an older person who doesn't know anything about paganism or witchcraft or magic or anything like that I think I know a handful about at least. That person may not know anything that I know about that subject matter. So they might be learning from me in that regard. But I am still very young and I have still a lot to experience in my life. So that person does still have life experience on me, for sure. On the other hand, there can also be an older person who maybe led a very simple, very sheltered life. Maybe I have more life experience than them in some ways. Maybe they don't have as much life experience as that other older person in some ways. So just the reminder that our physical age and our chronological age doesn't necessarily go along with how much we know about different things. But I think it's fantastic that people find paganism or whatever path is right for them at whatever age it finds them, whatever time it feels right to you. I can't tell you how many times I've come across something that I thought was kind of cool but didn't feel ready for it for years. And in my case, it's only been a few years down the line, but I can see that happening for other people. Maybe they learned about this decades ago, but it didn't feel right for them or they weren't ready to dive into it. And then down the line, whether it's, once I retire, once my kids are grown, once I accomplish this, whatever thing it is in your mind that you think has to be out of the way before you can really dive into a spiritual practice if it's not something that you've spent a lot of time on before. Whenever that comes up in your life and you decide, okay, now is the time, I think that's great. Good for you. Good. I'm on your side. I'm happy for you. I think that's awesome. So, yeah, just not that I have a lot to say about being an older pig, obviously, because in this lifetime I am still quite young, but I just wanted to sort of take this opportunity in this video to presence all of those people in our community who are older and maybe more toward beginner status. Nothing wrong with it. We just all have to remember that chronological age and experience level within the craft and knowledge and wisdom, blah, blah, blah. They're all tied up in different ways, and they don't necessarily go, you don't automatically get certain things with age, and vice versa. People who are young don't necessarily not know things. You get it. I don't have to say it again. So thank you very much for the topic this week, Mark. And thank you to all of you who watch the channel, no matter who you are, how old you are, how many lives you've lived, how much you know, what you're doing this week. Whatever. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And a big thank you to Danny for covering my spot last week when I was just not in a place or in a time to do a video that day. I did, however, record a video on the Fae, I think the next day or a couple days later, that needs to be edited and rendered and, put all together. So I will be uploading a video about the Fae on my personal channel coming up pretty soon. I have a couple of videos edited that need to be, recorded, that need to be edited and then put all together for my channel. So that'll be coming up throughout the rest of this month on CuteWitch772. So thank you very much again to Danny, and thank you all. I will see you here on this channel next month, because next week is Subs Week, and I'll see you over on my personal channel until then. You can always check that out, links in the description. I'll see you then. Don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.